Linux Mint HWE ISOs, what they are and why they matter. If you have ever tried installing Linux Mint on a brand new laptop or PC and ran into frustrating hardware issues, Wi-Fi not working, graphics acting up, or components simply not being recognized, there is finally a clean and official solution. Linux Mint has just launched something called HWE ISOs. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what they are, why the team decided to release them now, and whether you actually need one. So, let's get into it. Let's first start with what is an HWE ISO. First, let's understand the basics. HWE stands for Hardware Enablement. When Linux Mint releases a new version, the installation image, or ISO, comes bundled with a specific Linux kernel version. That kernel is essentially the core of the operating system. It's what communicates between your software and your hardware. The problem is that kernel is locked in at the time that ISO is built. So, if you buy a laptop in mid 2026 with components that were released after the original kernel was compiled, there is a real chance those components won't work properly right out of the box. That's where HWE ISOs step in. They are essentially the same version of Linux Mint you already know. Same software, same desktop, same experience, but with a newer kernel packed in, specifically to handle more modern hardware. So, why now? The longer release cycle connection. Here is the context that makes this announcement particularly important. Earlier in April 2026, Linux Mint project lead Clement Lefebvre announced that the team is moving to a longer development cycle. The next major release, Linux Mint 23, is not expected until Christmas 2026. That's a significant gap. Now, normally this wouldn't be a huge deal, but with nearly a full year between major releases, users buying hardware throughout 2026 could easily run into installation problems with a kernel that's simply too old to recognize their components. The standard Linux Mint 22.3 ISO ships with the Linux kernel 6.14, which was perfectly current when it launched in January. But hardware moves fast. Rather than leaving those users stranded until a new release drops, the Mint team made a smart call. Start publishing updated HWE ISOs on a rolling basis whenever a newer kernel becomes available in the package base. Now, what's in the current HWE ISO? The first HWE ISO was released on April 30, 2026. It contains Linux kernel 6.17, sourced from the Ubuntu 24.04.4 LTS HWE stack, which is the upstream base that Linux Mint is built upon. It's available in all three desktop editions: Cinnamon, XFCE, and Matte. So, no matter which flavor of Mint you prefer, there is an HWE version ready for you. The Mint team has also confirmed that these images are fully QA tested and considered stable, so you're not taking any risk by using them. Looking ahead, another HWE ISO with Linux kernel 7.0 is planned for the summer of 2026. Time to align with the Ubuntu 24.04.5 HWE stack release. And going forward, new HWE ISOs will be published each time a newer kernel makes its way into the package base. So, do you need to download it? This is the question most people will have, So let me be clear. If you already have Linux Mint installed and running, you don't need to do anything different. Kernel 6.17 will arrive through your normal update channels, just like any other software update. Open your update manager, apply the updates, and you're good. The HWE ISOs are specifically designed for fresh installations on new hardware. If you are about to install Linux Mint 22.3 on a recent machine and you have been running into compatibility headaches, maybe your Wi-Fi card isn't detected or your GPU isn't playing nicely during the install, then yes, grab the HWE ISO instead of the standard one. Head over to the official Linux Mint website. Look for the new HWE download page and pick your preferred desktop edition. If your hardware works fine with the current standard release, there is generally no need to switch. The regular 22.3 ISO remains the recommended choice for the majority of users. So, why this is a smart move? What I find genuinely impressive about this decision is how proactively the Mint team is handling a challenge that could have just been ignored. Most distributions would simply say, wait for the next release. Linux Mint chose a different path. Instead of forcing users to either struggle with incompatibility hardware or jump to a more cutting edge distro, they created a structured, tested, and officially supported pathway to get newer kernel support without abandoning the stability that Mint is known for. It's a good balance, and it reflects the kind of community focused thinking that has made Linux Mint one of the most popular distributions out there. So, to recap, Linux Mint now offers HWE ISOs, updated installation images with newer kernels, aimed at people installing on modern hardware. The first one ships with the kernel 6.17. It's available right now from the official website, and more will follow as newer kernels arrive. If this video helped you understand what's going on, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Drop a comment below if you have questions about whether you need the HWE ISO, and I'll do my best to help. Subscribe if you want to stay updated on Linux news like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.